Better World Blueprint. Good humans doing good things.
If you turn on the telly, you might think the world is full of self-interested people. But look around and you'll see the opposite. There are many, many people out there trying to make the world a better place. And you'll hear about some of them on this podcast. Hi, I'm Siobhan Hunt, and I'm here to show you that humanity is not going to hell in a handbasket. Welcome to A Better World Blueprint. There's not a lot you can do in life without money. You might feel constrained by not having enough, or you're working your fingers to the bone just to keep paying the rent or the mortgage. Money can shape our lives and the things we do. Natasha Janssens understands this on a very deep level. She started her career in finance, but it wasn't long before she realised that she could be helping people on a much deeper level. So she founded Women with Sense, that's CENTS, a coaching service specifically designed to empower women. This is my chat with financial coach Natasha Janssens. Hello, Natasha, and welcome to A Better World Blueprint.
Hi, Siobhan. Thank you so much for having me.
Tell me, what led you to doing Women with Sense? Did you have a wake-up moment where you decided this is what you needed to be doing?
Do you know, it was actually, I always say I'm an accidental feminist. I had a very different vision for what I was going to do with my business. And really one thing led to another. So what happened is that I had planned to run a holistic finance practice. I'm a qualified accountant, mortgage broker and financial planner. So I was going to be a one-stop shop. And as Murphy's Law would have it, just as I started my business, I fell pregnant. And so what happened was that I obviously then started engaging more, with my local mothers group. And that really opened my eyes to just the different challenges that women tend to face around money and just how heavily male dominated the world of finance is. And really, it was with the support of my mother's group that we sort of started Women with Sense together. Like, we just decided to set up our own little online forum. Back then, gosh, it's a little while ago now, Facebook groups were just really becoming a thing. And so we thought, well, let's just set up our own group where we can talk about money. And from there, it became sort of face-to-face things. And then it grew into an online coaching platform that was nationwide. And so, it was never fully my intention to be doing this particular type of work. But the more I worked in finance and the more I worked in financial education, it didn't stop with the creation of Women with Sense. My pathway really changed from there to focusing more on one-on-one work and focusing more on money coaching. So looking at the psychology of money, rather than purely telling people, and women in particular, what they should be doing with their finances. So, all of it was just a real journey of discovery and learning for me as well. And but I couldn't be happier with where I ended up.
This isn't where you expected to end up, but you're very glad you ended up there. What's the difference, do you think, between the kind of work you used to do and the work you're doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the work that I did, it was very much focused sort of on your money IQ, so the financial literacy component, and, really telling people, putting together a financial plan, offering that added education, because I was so convinced back then that the reason that people were suffering from financial stress, the reason that we had self-doubt was just because we didn't know enough. And I thought, look, if I could teach as many people as possible more about how finance works, improve their financial literacy, people would then start to take more proactive control of their finances. And the more I then did that work, the more I realized that it still wasn't moving the dial. So people were still stuck in their patterns of behavior. They might have a financial plan, but, they either sit on it and don't do anything with it, or they somehow started to self-sabotage. And so that really grew my curiosity and interest to go, okay, well, what do we do at a practical level? How do I actually make a difference? And so I then, went down the rabbit hole of behavioral finance, looking at the psychology of how we make financial decisions, and then became a qualified and certified money coach to then start supporting my clients with really shifting their behaviors and understanding what their emotional drivers and triggers are around money, and what sort of where all of these patterns of behaviors are coming from, and how they can start to shift them.
So you identified a need, and you already had a certain level of skill in finance. Were the next steps all about extending those skills, like you say, with the coaching part of the business? Or were there more steps that you had to take in terms of setting up the business?
I think the main part for me was skill acquisition. So once I found a place where I could be trained to do the sort of work that I felt there was a need and a passion to do, then it really was just more about shifting the focus of my service offering and the nature of the conversations that I was having with my clients. And the interesting thing was, this is sort of where I realized that I'd found, my passion and my purpose, was that business just started to flow so much easier once I began this line of work. So whereas before, it felt like it was always one step forward and two steps back. It was just such a real battle. And once I became a certified money coach and shifted the focus and was clear on the service that I was offering, really everything just sort of fell into place so much easier.
That's so interesting. That whole idea about flow once you find where you're actually meant to be, and not to take away from that, because that is a beautiful place to find yourself. But I'm just wondering, were there any stumbles along the way? Like, was there ever a time when it was challenging?
To be honest, I had lots of stumbles, but it was before I reached the point of deciding that I was going to purely be a certified money coach. For a long time, I was trying to solve a problem, and I was doing it in a very challenging regulatory environment. So as we know, financial advice is very prohibitive in many ways. It's very expensive to receive. It's very expensive to deliver, just because of the nature of it. And there's so much red tape. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to solve a problem for the people that are caught in that wedge between you're earning more, you're off Centrelink, you don't really need the services of a financial counsellor, but you're at the stage of life where you're not quite ready for financial advice, or you may seek it, but it's just outside of your price range. So I was trying to deliver a service that would support clients in that space. But I was really up against a lot of obstacles trying to navigate that environment and trying to turn it into a service that would make a difference and could be affordable. And so I think once I don't want to say accepted defeat, because I don't have that mindset, but I think once I sort of gave up on trying to fit into a mold that wasn't quite right? Like I was bending backwards. I was trying to bend and bow in whatever way just to work within the framework that existed. And I think once I realized that, I need to start thinking outside the box and take a completely different tack, that was when, the challenges went away and things became so much easier. But for a long, long time, I'd, tried different things. I tried offering online courses and shifting to general financial advice and trying to do different things that could, I guess, solve that problem in a very cost-effective way. But, it certainly wasn't easy, and it was, it was a very challenging time to sort of
Once you've found the flow and you're engaging in the work that brings you what sounds like great satisfaction, did that change you? Did it change how you looked at the world? Did you find yourself evolving in any way because you were engaging in this work?
Oh, 100%. So look, the nature of the conversations that I was having with my clients became a lot deeper and a lot more personal and meaningful. And through learning about each individual's journey, through learning about their past, through learning around, just how many of us, and that most of us, if not all of us, have experienced some types of challenges in our lives, and especially in our childhood, that we're all overcoming. I think it's made me a lot more compassionate, a lot more patient, a lot more understanding of what's going on for people, and for myself as well, right? So it's given me, I guess, a much deeper level of appreciation for everything in many ways.
Money can sound like, I don't know, quite a cold topic, I guess, but it's so essential to how we live in the modern world. I'm just wondering what kind of impact you've seen from the coaching that you've done. You just mentioned that you've had very deep relationships with your clients. Can you talk us through any examples of where you've felt that you've made a big difference?
Oh, absolutely. So it's interesting that you say we do associate money with being just about numbers and about logic, right? But in actual fact, money is deeply emotional. And through the work that I've been doing, I've uncovered just how closely linked it is to our sense of safety, but also to our sense of self-worth, right? And when you think about it, this is what most of us use money for. We're either trying to create and achieve that sense of safety and security, or we're using it as a measure of our self-worth, and we're constantly striving to be good enough and wondering, am I good enough? Am I deserving of this? Could I be doing more? And all those sorts of things. And so I think the nature of the work by itself, it is about supporting clients with healing some of those wounds and building up their self-confidence and completely shifting the way that they view themselves. We tend to be extremely self-critical and very hard on ourselves. So there's a big part around self-forgiveness and really reframing what those beliefs have been around who we are, what we're capable of, and what we deserve. So I suppose when I think about the impact that it's had on people, we can talk in terms of some practical examples. I've had clients who have, really wanted to own a home, but have had a deep level of anxiety around either making the wrong decision or not being able to afford a mortgage or not being able to cope with it, who are now in a place of being a homeowner, stress-free and living a life with intention. There's clients who have, perhaps even without it being their intention when they came to see me, have gone and completely transformed what they do day to day. They might have had a complete career change. The quality of their relationships is better because they're not having so many arguments spurred on by money. And just overall, everyone who goes through this process ends up with a much greater sense of self-awareness, and they go from living their life on autopilot in a state of reactiveness and feeling powerless around what's happening to a state of living life with intention, so that everything is being done for a purpose and we're consciously aware of what that purpose is, and we're taking the steps to achieve those goals that are actually meaningful to us rather than doing things because we feel like we should. So while it may not be as exciting as saying, you know what, all these people have gone and 10x their income and done X, Y, and Z, to me, it's actually far more exciting because no matter how much we have in the bank, it's not going to resolve our sense of anxiety or our sense of shame or guilt or any number of things that we tend to carry around money. So when we heal that, I feel, we have a much greater sense of peace and satisfaction and joy in our lives.
I think it sounds fabulous. Natasha, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
My pleasure, Siobhan.
Financial coach Natasha Janssens from Women with Sense. If this chat has sparked your curiosity, you'll find more info about Natasha in the show notes. I'm Siobhan Hunt. See you on the next episode of A Better World Blueprint.